Hello. Hi. All right. Today is the first day of a 3-day live training series that I'm doing, and it's called How to Ditch Your Inner Mean Girl and Learn to Trust Your Own Voice. So I am coming on live at noon, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so for a while I've been kind of talking about it, advertising it a little bit. Hey, Ashley. Hey, guys. And so for a while I've been talking about this live training that's happening for these 3 days. And so, hey, Amy, if you can't join today, or if you can't join at noon the other days, that's okay, because there's a sign up form on my profile or in my bio, and you can go ahead and sign up. And so right after all these trainings, I'm going to be sending out the replays to those that signed up to your email. Because I don't have your email until you do that. So if you want the replays, or if you just want to revisit this, or if you want a chance to win a 30-minute like a live coaching session with me, we can go on Zoom. Then that would be how you sign up in my bio. I just need to express my gratitude just for everybody that signed up. It is freaking phenomenal to be on today. I'm loving seeing you all pop on. This is something that is near and dear to my heart. I've been calling it the Inner Mean Girl series. It just means a lot to me that you all are here. I wanted to talk about this because a while ago I did a poll on my stories on Instagram, and I asked, what is something that you struggle with the most with mindset? And a lot of the women that wrote back to me or voted on that poll said that they struggle with negative self-talk. And with negative self-talk, that it was like several women, it was probably 80% of people said that that's what they struggled with the most. And I completely relate to that. My name is Mariah. I am a recovering addict, and I talk on that a lot. It's a big part of my story. And I can totally relate to that inner mean girl in your mind, or the guys that are joining, just like that douchebag, like that dick in our minds that's like telling us that we're who are we to think that we're worth more than that? Or like, you're going to look like an idiot if you do that, or whatever it is. My mean girl says all kinds of things, and I've been posting about it, kind of just being open and honest about it, because if I don't get it out into the open, then she's in charge. So that's what this training is all about, is your inner mean girl, how she's kind of controlling your life and in charge of a lot of your limitations, things that you aren't necessarily pushing forward with, because maybe you think that the things that she's telling you is true. So I have notes. So a few of the things that I had people write in and ask, what is some of the things that's on your mind, that the inner mean girl tells you. And she is, a lot of the women wrote in and they said things like, I hate myself because, whatever the reason was, or they'd say, I'm such an idiot because this, or like, well, I've ruined everything because whatever the reason, a decision that they made. And I first and foremost, I wanted to come on here because, well, first off, we are naming and recognizing our inner mean girl. And so in order to do that, we need to kind of deflate her a little bit. We think it's like such, for me personally, when I was in active addiction, my inner mean girl ran the show, and it sucked. I had no way to get away from her. I thought that she was telling the truth, and I thought that what she said goes, and I thought that she was in charge of me. And once I realized that everybody has an inner mean girl in the back of their minds, once I realized it wasn't just me, and that literally every person walks around with this like self-doubt, self-deprecating, we beat ourselves up, and it's really hard. It's really hard to not listen to that voice and to like persevere and go through the hard thing anyway, and do the thing that like could be embarrassing if we fail and all this stuff. Hey, Diana. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for everybody on right now. And that's like one of the first things that I realized when I went to treatment, is like, well, everybody has this negative voice, and instead of like beating myself up about like, okay, well, everybody has this voice, and like here I am letting mine run the show, and like other people are successful, they're better than me, they're doing the hard things, they're, you know, motivated and all this stuff. It's like, well, that's a process, and we can all learn how to do that. Yeah, everybody has an inner mean girl, and it can be named other things too. Like I've heard it be called your shadow, like shadow work in psychology. I personally started calling it my addiction demon. These inner demons that like literally wanted me to like drink so badly. They wanted me to call my dealer. They wanted me to like self-destruct in all the ways. They wanted me to skip meetings. They wanted me to go to the bar. They wanted me to do all these things like against what was better for me, that would help me heal. And once we recognize, the first step is recognizing that that voice is not us. So that's first and foremost the absolute most important thing. So if you can think of a name for her, I call mine Cynthia. So that's the first thing that we can do. If you want to write in the chat what you named your inner mean girl, that is super helpful, because when we first start to understand that she isn't us, if we can name her, we understand that she isn't us. And it's so much easier to kind of deflect what someone else says versus what we think we're telling ourselves. I call mine Cynthia because I had an algebra teacher in high school, and I don't know if I need to go into detail, but I'm not that great at math, and I got better in college once someone actually listened to me, and she was not. It just wasn't the best time. It wasn't the best time for me in her algebra class. So my inner mean girl's name is Cynthia, and I'm like, you know what, you don't know what you're saying. You know, like you're not the one in charge right now. So yeah, if you want to write in Sally, she's quite salty from her trauma. Yeah, Sally's a good one. Jamie, just like a rhyme of like your own first name. I like that a lot. Bye, Cynthia. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if we can name her, we can realize that she's other than us. So when we realize that, you know, there's her voice, and then there's really our voice, our authentic voice, something that is like really our true being, and like what we really like our worth, and what we're really thinking, what we really feel like we deserve. That is what can come through when we can other Cynthia, or like the Cynthias of our name. Yeah, please think of a name. Absolutely. Sandra, think of a name. So Amy did a really cool thing where she just picked a name that rhymed with hers, and I think that's really cool. I don't know what mine would be if I did that, but I'm sticking with Cynthia for now, just for the purpose of this training. So common things that people have written into me, have DM'd me about when I did those polls. You know, it's the common ones, especially with women. You know, a lot of it is body image issues. A lot of it is, you know, I'm so fat. I'm a bad mom. All of these like self-judgments and the ways that we put ourselves down. There are things that I've definitely said to myself, like, well, I'll never find love at this rate. I'm not lovable. Why would anybody love me? Why, you know, all these things, talking about like relationships, or even friendships, or even family members. When I first got clean, I mean, I talk a little bit about how I come from like a suicidal background, and it was, my inner mean girl was me. I did not understand that there was a difference, and I let her take over. And I'm here to speak up on it, and in order to, you know, help someone else understand that when we can other the inner mean girl, you know, and she's not us, that's the most important thing that we can do for today. And then for me, it was, you know, well, I'm an addict, you know, I just don't have self-control. You know, if I was stronger, if I wasn't as weak, if I wasn't so fucked up, you know, all these things that I told myself. And then even like, when I started opening up about my addiction and speaking that, like, you know, hey, I'm sober, or yeah, I'm an addict, even just like putting that label on me, I was so hard on myself. And you know, whether you live a sober lifestyle, or you're in recovery, or whatever it is, if you are not sober, if you don't have an issue with substance control and things like that, I'm just glad that you're here either way, because like I said, every single person has an inner mean girl or an inner mean voice, no matter who they are, and they can attack us in different ways. They can get in charge of us in different ways. And so just from that, I was like, well, I don't even know if I want to out myself to the world and like put that label on myself, because there's so much stigma around all of these things. And a lot of us are born into this world that like teaches us separation from other people. It teaches us competition. That's a big one with women as well. And when I was teaching at NDSU, I understood, teaching feminist theory, how it was like I started to understand my own thoughts and my own upbringing and the women around me and the way that I thought of other women and the way that I thought of myself because of that. It's common for us to, when people are like, oh, you're not like other girls, and it's like such a compliment. Like, I'm so unique. Yeah, fuck that, actually. Like, I want to be like most girls. Like, we need to be on each other's team, right? We need to support each other. And we just need to understand that hurt people. And so what's happening in my mind is that Cynthia she's hurt. She's hurting. She's gone through trauma. She's gone through a past. She's been hurt by other people. And she's deflecting that onto me with fear and judgment and trying to keep me small, in a way, trying to keep me safe, probably. And for us to realize that what she's saying isn't true is all that really matters. And it's where we can start, at least. There's these double standards that women have put on them. We're expected to do it all. We're supposed to be sexy and thin, but we're also supposed to be like the best mom, but also supposed to be like bomb at our job and make sure that we're working 40 hours a week and make sure that we have, we're the caretakers for children and we're the house takers and the take care of the house and all this stuff. And it's just like, where does it stop? Especially when then you turn to like beauty standards and advertisements, and it is, get this Botox or buy this product, or, oh, are your thighs too big? Oh, you don't have a thigh gap? Well, you're failing in that department. And just all these things. And no wonder why we have this inner mean girl, that she's so strong, no wonder why she got so much strength. These are called core false beliefs. And it's basically a fake belief that we have learned to think of as true. Like, we have to do these things, we have to be these things in order to be good enough. And it's that striving for perfection that our inner mean girl tries to, so for me, it was like striving for perfection. When I was in active addiction, she was striving for perfection constantly. So in order to do that, I couldn't talk about my pain. I couldn't talk about that I was using drugs or whatever the behavior was. I couldn't talk about that because my inner mean girl told me that I had to be perceived as having my shit together and being strong enough to not need anybody else. And that's how she wins. She tries to tell us that we can do it on our own. We're supposed to know how to do it on our own. We don't need to reach out. We don't need connection. And that's how she wins. So yeah, like I mentioned, this is called shadow work. So in psychology, Carl Jung, he did a whole series of shadow work. So whether you call it your inner mean girl or your addiction demon or your shadow, it is something that is always within us. And as much as we go through these trainings and talk about it and learn about her, she will always be part of us. And so the whole theory behind Carl Jung's shadow work is to turn to our shadow and to learn about it, learn why it's saying the things that it's saying, learn why it's there, why is it so dark, and what kind of things does it hold on to, what is in secret. And if we can friend it, if we can, ask it gently what it's really trying to tell us, then we can find balance in our lives. When we find balance in our life, like when we have the shadow work, when we can bring that to the light, then it's way more balanced. There's more in the light. So there's more happiness and health and peacefulness and mindfulness on our choices and how we're treating ourselves and other people. And it's just all around like a full healing experience. It brings like a wholeness to us, and it gets us to be like our authentic selves. Really, that's the goal, is to figure out what our voice is versus our inner mean girl. When we can figure out our authentic voice, and maybe something that we haven't listened to our whole lives, because ever since we can remember, we've been running our lives based on what our inner girl is telling us to do or say or not say, or to hide, or whatever it is. Like for me, I've been, it's like a normality for me to play small. And I guess for me, choosing to numb out with whatever it was before I got clean and sober, it was, you know, choosing to reach for the drug, or the glass of wine, which turned into a bottle of wine, or choosing, like actually, that's a really good example. When I went through a breakup in college, I ended up, it's not funny, but I ended up binge watching 3 shows like that had multiple seasons back to back to back to back. And I didn't leave the apartment. I didn't know how to process the emotion because my inner mean girl was so in full force, and I didn't understand that, like the shit that she was throwing at me for being a failure and not being unlovable and all of these things, you know, and I was blaming like, oh, he wants to date someone else that's skinnier than I am, and just like all this stuff, you know, all this shit that our inner mean girl throws at us. It's atrocious. It can really destroy us if we let her run the show. So that's the whole point of this training, is to be able to be strong enough in our understanding that Cynthia, her whole goal is to be like Regina George, right? Like it's the inner mean girl, right? So if we put a spin on mean girls, Regina George, her whole purpose and her whole mission is to be catty and to put people down and to make sure that people feels like she's superior. And she's so weak. Like we hear that in the end of the movie, you know, like she doesn't run the high school, you know, and in the gymnasium when they're all like, who's personally been victimized by Regina George? And like everybody raises their hand and Regina sits down. That's what we're doing with our inner mean girl this week. Today, if we name her, that's the whole point. We're recognizing that, you know, mine is called Cynthia. So I recognize Cynthia isn't me. And then I'm realizing, when I think a thought, and I challenge you to do this today, when a thought comes to your mind and it's a self-judgment, and it hurts, you know, or it's a negative thought. It's something that you're thinking either about yourself or something, or other people, or the world around you, or whatever it is. I challenge you to ask, was that Cynthia, or is this something that I think? And then that kind of leads me into the homework. So if you have signed up and if you're receiving emails from me, then you also have homework. Good news. And by doing the homework, that's how you get into the drawing. And I keep on saying it's a 30-minute free coach session with me, but it's probably going to end up being 45 minutes or so. Amy's on here. Amy knows. She and I got onto a Zoom call, and it ended up being a lot longer than we expected. But I just end up being kind of chatty, and I want to get to know about you and figure out ways that we can work towards, you know, better mindset and happiness, and to get this inner mean girl less in charge. So yeah, think of today. So the homework today, and I'll send it out in the email. But the homework is, well, first off, sign up. The homework is sign up if you haven't signed up, and then name your inner mean girl. So your homework is to DM me. It'll be in the email again, so you don't need to necessarily write this down, or if you're watching the replay, to DM me, name your inner mean girl. That's very important, to get a name on her, to realize that she's not Mariah. You know, she's not Diana. She's not Amy, right? She's different. She's much different than you. And it's something that we can separate from how we want to be versus how we kind of have been in the past. And then write down one thing she said to you recently, maybe today. Have something like just keep it in the back of your mind when you're thinking and going about your day. Process and try to understand if she tells you something. think of a negative thought, or when a negative thought happens, I guess. When that happens, ask yourself, is this statement true? Is it fundamentally true? What was just said to me? So for me, this morning when I woke up and popped my head off the pillow, I was like, no one wants to hear about your training. You don't even know what you're doing. Why would people want to listen to your story? And I was like, hold up, brakes. Like, fuck you, Cynthia. I know what I'm doing. I've been planning for this training for a while. It's so important to me to help other people kind of understand their inner mean girl and how to get her to sit the fuck down. Like, she can't sit with us, you know? Like, no way. And that's what I'm here for. So I was like, okay, is this fundamentally true? And it so isn't. I've gotten so much support from such amazing women that are just queens, and you know, guy friends in my life, and just like so many people. Just, it's amazing. So I'm like, okay, so the negative thought happened. I was like, is this thought fundamentally true? And then I was like, nope, must be Cynthia. And I'm like, she needs to sit down. We're not going there. We're not dwelling on anything that she says because she's a bitch. So I got up, threw on my clothes, went and did a workout, and I was like, okay, we're going to start the day. We're going to do this training, and that's what we're here for. So yeah, that's your homework, and your instructions will be in the email. So if you haven't signed up, do it. And it'll just be, what's your inner mean girl's name? And recognize a thought, something that she said to you recently. Even if it's not today, maybe think in the last week. What has she told you? What is something that she's trying to convince you is true? And then ask yourself, is this true? Is it fundamentally true? Or how is this false? And then for even further, it'll be, how do you know? How do you know for sure? And yes, we wear pink on Wednesdays, right? On Wednesdays, we do wear pink. It's actually in my email tomorrow. We'll see if I can find something pink in my closet. I don't know. But that is what I have for today. Tomorrow, we're talking about how when we're disconnected from our essential self, like when we believe our inner mean girl, when we're letting her run the show, and we're kind of on autopilot that way. I was on autopilot when I was in active addiction. So when that happens, when we're on autopilot, we automatically, when we feel like she's telling us the truth, we end up being negatively affected, sometimes pretty severely. It's different for everybody, but we're affected emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And so tomorrow we're diving a lot more into that. So if you feel like your inner mean girl's been running the show, first of all, it's not a moral failing. Literally every single person has an inner mean girl, has something telling them that they're not good enough, all of these things. It's human instinct to judge ourselves, and maybe if it's not an instinct, it's culturally and socially taught that we should be judging ourselves constantly. And so that's what we're here to do, is to debunk that theory that somehow we're imperfect and that we're not good enough for the things that we feel, that we want, and living a good and happy life. So that is why we're here. We'll talk more about disconnection and ways that your inner mean girl can really affect you in a really negative way tomorrow, and then what you can do about it, how you can start to undo and unravel some of the stories that she's been feeding you for your entire life. So if you haven't signed up, go sign up. I will be sending out an email with a recap, and I hope that you all join me tomorrow.